We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was...
Good morning, Owasso. This is Chad with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. Well, Jimmy Kimmel has officially been canceled. First they came for Colbert, and now they came for Kimmel. And it's about freaking time. Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a hardcore left-wing propaganda piece. He has been a problem since he got into politics, and he's just been going to one side of the political movement. And this is the problem, is like, even Jimmy Carson himself talked about this, which I have that video pulled up right here. Talked about like the problem with getting into politics. So we'll let Jimmy Carson, Johnny Carson, the king of late night comedy, talk about why he didn't ever delve into politics.
Tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer. Tell me the last time that Jack Benny,
the king of late night television, Johnny Carson, saying that you shouldn't get political and monologue on your late night shows, which that's all Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert do. That's all they've done. Insane. Absolutely insane. So, Johnny Carson speaking right there. That was absolutely wonderful. But we're going to get into this. We're going to bring up this article from the BBC, talk about how ABC takes Jimmy Kimmel off air over Charlie Kirk comments. ABC suspends talk show host Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely over remarks about right-wing influencer Charlie Kirk's killing. Kimmel said the MAGA gang aimed to score political points from the shooting. Some prominent Hollywood figures condemned the move as censorship and a threat to free speech. Donald Trump welcomes Kimmel's indefinite suspension as a great news for America. TV host Jimmy Kimmel has been pulled off the air indefinitely after comments he made about the shooting of Charlie Kirk, ABC has said. The decision comes hours after Brendan Carr, chair of the broadcast regulator, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, threatened to act against ABC and its parent company Disney over the remarks. In his monologue on Monday, Kimmel said that the MAGA gang was desperately trying to characterize the kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and trying to score political points from it. Mr. Carr said that Kimmel appearing to directly mislead American public. Kimmel has not yet commented. Following the live coverage, Kimmel, who was among the top chat show personalities in the U.S., has fronted his show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, since 2003, hosted from the Oscars 4 times. During the Monday late night show, he spoke about flags being flown at half-mast in honor of Charlie Kirk and mocked U.S. President Donald Trump's reaction to the shooting. This is not how an adult grieves a murderer of someone he calls a friend. This is how a 4-year-old moans a goldfish, he said. That prompted a furious response from Mr. Carr, who accused Kimmel of the sickest conduct possible and demanded an apology. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, Carr, a Trump appointee, told the Benny Johnson Show, a conservative podcast. These companies can find ways to change, conduct, and take action. Frankly, on Kimmel, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. Hours later, Nexstar Media, one of the biggest owners of the TV stations in U.S., said that it would not air Kimmel's show for this foreseeable future. Nexstar called his remarks about Kirk offensive and insensitive at a crucial time in our national political discourse. Mr. Carr thanked Nexstar for doing the right thing, and he said that he hoped that the broadcasters would follow his lead. Nexstar is currently seeking FCC approval for its planned $6 billion merger with Tingna. Sinclair, the largest ABC affiliate group in the U.S., said that it would air a special remembrance program to dedicate Kirk during an original time slot for Kimmel's show on Friday. Kirk, a high-profile conservative activist, died a single gunshot wound while speaking at the Utah Valley University in Orem on 10th of September. Tyler Robinson, 22, was charged with aggravated murder on Tuesday, with prosecutors saying that they will seek the death penalty. On the day Kirk was shot, Kimmel took to Instagram to condemn the attack and send love to the 31-year-old's family. Speaking during the state visit to the UK, Trump said that Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings and is not a talented person. Some prominent Hollywood figures spoke out against Kimmel's suspension, with the actor Ben Stiller commenting, "This isn't right." Hacks star Jean Smart wrote on Instagram that she wrote horrified at the cancellation, adding that what Jimmy said was free speech, not hate speech. Others argued that Kimmel's suspension was an example of cancel culture, when a person says something that a ton of people find offensive, rude, dumb in real time, and then that person is pushed for it is not cancel culture. That's consequences for your action, Dave Portnoy, who founded the media company Barstool Sports, said. Meanwhile, House Democrat leader Mr. Carr of engaging in corrupt abuse of power and calling him to resign as he has disgraced the office and holds of bullying ABC, the employer of Jimmy Kimmel, forcing the company to bend the knee to the Trump administration, statements read. Kimmel made no comment as he left the show studio on Hollywood Boulevard on Wednesday. His fans, who had been queuing up to join the live audience, expressed disappointment about the suspension. "This is getting ridiculous and stupid," Jana Blackwell told BBC. Freedom of speech. He shared his opinion and he's being canceled. One of the Carr's leadership colleagues of the FCC Commissioner, Ana Gomez, criticized the regulator's approach to Kimmel. She said that it's inexcusable act of any political violence by one disturbed individual must be exploited as justification for broader censorship or control. The Writers Guild of America, WGA, Hollywood's labor union, said that the decision was a violation of the constitutional free speech rights. Shame on those governments. Shame on those in government who forget that this is founding truth. The founding truth, it said. A source in the CNBC that Kimmel's that had not been fired and network bosses had intended to speak to him about what they should say when they're back on air. Kimmel's suspension marks the latest chapter in Trump's administration's feud with media companies. Trump has previously reached a settlement with CBS and ABC over separate stories and launched legal actions against the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. In July, CBS announced that it would end the late-night show with Stephen Colbert next year after 11 seasons. The company said the move was purely financial decision, a claim challenged by Colbert. Yep. So, we're going to get into this, how the liberals, how the left are getting all bent out of shape about cancel culture now. It's funny that they're getting bent out of shape about cancel culture now, how they didn't have any issues with this stuff now. So we're going to get into this right here. So here's this little video that we're going to start with, just them talking about how it's so bad that people are getting fired over these Charlie Kirk comments.
I think that this push for mass firings could become quite significant, and it already is. I mean, compared to the aftermath of January 6th, this does seem to be turning into a very aggressive attempt to purge not just, government officials or in the Hegseth example in the Defense Department, but also specifically people who work in education, who work in healthcare, who work in government. Those are the fields that a lot of these right-wing figures have been mentioning over and over again when talking about how just random internet users have responded to this shooting.
So wait, what are they doing? Are they scouring social media? Is that what they're doing? Or getting hearsay? Somebody said something? I mean,
so there's one website called Charlie's Murderers that's gotten a huge following on on Twitter, and they basically have assembled over, the last count I saw was like 40,000 different examples of just, essentially a grassroots, people giving screenshots, names, professions. So it's already getting a little bit out of hand.
Wow. All right.
I think that
amazing that people that are terrible people who are praising the murder and the death of Charlie Kirk. I mean, I am not happy that Charlie Kirk's dead, but Charlie Kirk's death has literally exposed the left for the death cult that they are. Charlie Kirk's death has quite literally exposing these evil people amongst us that are willing to celebrate the death of a good man. So even in his death, like, he is stopping the left. Charlie Kirk is pointing out these evil, hypocritical, left-wing people that are like, oh, I believe in free speech, but Charlie Kirk, it's a good thing that Charlie Kirk got killed. Like I said, these people are truly evil. They're getting consequences for their actions. It's not free speech. It's not a free speech issue right now. And it's funny that they're talking about this as though it is a free speech issue right now. So we're going to start with this right here. Democrats are so quick to forget that since 2015, they've pushed for censorship, and now all of a sudden they claim to be in favor of free speech. Kamala Harris from 2019, September 30th, 2019. Look, let's be honest. @RealDonald Trump's Twitter account should be suspended. And remember, they did suspend it. The only reason he came back to Twitter is because Elon Musk bought it. Said the party that claims that, Jimmy Kimmel's just doing free speech. Like, you guys canceled Roseanne for making a edgy tweet. Everyone forgets all this crap. Right here, this is from the Daily Wire. Democrats melt down as Jimmy Kimmel gets the axe. Where was this outrage for free speech before? Gavin Newsom, there's no such thing as free speech under Trump's reign. Then, Gavin Newsom, is this you? Free speech wins. Judge strikes down California law restricting parody videos. Yeah, remember that. Gavin Newsom was trying to stop parody videos, those funny AI parody videos of them doing stupid stuff, making fun of Gavin Newsom and his political allies. Yeah, they were trying to put a stop to that. Oh, weren't so pro-free speech back then, were you, Gavin Newsom? Look at this one right here. @Democrats. Hey, GOP, the GOP is the party of censorship. Hey, Democrats, is this you? Zuckerberg, the Biden administration repeatedly pressured us to censor free speech. Yeah, remember that? Remember that when he was there at Congress testifying? He's like, yeah, we constantly got pressured by the Biden administration to censor certain topics and subjects and people. Only pro-free speech when it really benefits you, Democrats. Chuck Schumer, America is meant to be a bastion of free speech. Everyone across the political spectrum should be able to speak out to stop what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel. This is you, Chuck.
Rupert Murdoch has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it. Rupert Murdoch has
Calling for the cancellation of Tucker Carlson because they were saying things that they don't like. Yeah. This is why the left is so hypocritical. Said Harry Sisson, we are witnessing the most brazen attack on free speech in modern history. Elon, Trump, and MAGA said that they were free speech warriors. This is the exact opposite. Is this you, Harry? Happy 1-year anniversary of Donald Trump being banned from Twitter. Jimmy Kimmel is not a martyr. Charlie is. Andrew Colvett. Yeah, they're trying to make Jimmy Kimmel into a free speech martyr when Jimmy Kimmel wanted to have people who weren't vaccinated die. He's like, they don't deserve medical treatment. They don't deserve all this stuff. Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a piece of shit. I don't care what anybody else says. Like, the left is such hypocritical liars in all of this. I mean, Charlie Kirk says it here the best. What is at the heart of any left-wing liberal type right here?
At the core of the left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are.
We needed a hero. God sent us Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec. And I will say Charlie Kirk ran so we could all walk. And that is 100% true. He is literally proved, the left has literally proved Charlie Kirk's statement right there correct. With them trying to protect these people, praising Charlie Kirk's death and lying about his murderer's intent. It is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It is truly sickening stuff. So we're going to get to the other point of this. I have here Sean Fitzgerald, or actual justice warrior. I'm going to bring the other side of this debate in now. I'm leaning more into now the left has been doing this to us for years. It's time we play by their rules, and then that way we can rein them in. That's where I'm at. Now, actual justice warrior has a different take on this, and this is the other side's take, is like, we don't go play down to their rules. We don't go get in the mud with them. But I have just the other take of this is like, they've been doing this to us for years, and they're going to continue this. The moment that they get back in power, they're going to immediately start doing these things again. So the only way to fight with them is to fight on their level. Whereas he takes the approach of, we don't need to go to their levels and do what they're doing. But we'll go ahead and take their take. We're going to play a little bit of the Benny Johnson clip with the FCC director in here. So we'll go ahead and get this started.
What I understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
So that right there was a clip from the Benny Johnson show where Benny Johnson asked the head of the FCC in the Trump administration about whether or not there's something that can be done about the fact that Jimmy Kimmel blatantly lied on air. And of course, the FCC commissioner should have responded to this by saying, even though that's disgusting speech and whatnot, it's actually fully protected First Amendment speech. However, the FCC commissioner went in a completely different direction. He ended up threatening investigations, consequences, and of course, the threat of pulling the license of ABC, which, by the way, is granted by the FCC because ABC broadcasts on broadcast television. It's not a cable station. And this is where we run into major problems.
What would you like to see done at ABC?
Well, look, I think what you said there strikes me as a very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And at the FCC, we need to reinvigorate this. So again, there's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. So I think, again, Disney needs to see some change here, but the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this sort of status quo is obviously not acceptable where we are.
Now, I made the point on Twitter that this was absolutely ridiculous for the FCC commissioner to say, and essentially it ends up spoiling what could be a victory for the right, because we are definitely allowed as commentators and people who are on the right to criticize Jimmy Kimmel for the things that he said by implying a threat of government force against ABC if they don't take some kind of action against him. Because now, rather than the story story being Jimmy Kimmel lied on air and then people got angry about it and Sinclair Broadcasting or Nexstar Group pulled him from their stations, the story ultimately ends up being that the FCC put pressure on ABC in order to make these moves, which is completely and wholly unconstitutional. Now, of course, a bunch of people in my replies decided it would be appropriate to send me FCC rules about lying about crime, which of course they pulled from Google, never clicked on the link, and never understood the context of it. So one of the things that I would like to do for you guys out there in the audience is actually pull up the hoaxes doctrine from the FCC, and you guys can see for yourself that this completely does not apply to the situation that we're talking about, and it's absolutely ridiculous for you to backwards justify these actions and these statements from the head of the FCC just because you don't like Jimmy Kimmel. Again, I can't stand Jimmy Kimmel. I think it's hilarious that he would be pulled off air by ABC, but the thing is, it's completely spoiled by the head of the FCC using government threats in order to do so. So again, this is directly from the FCC's rules on hoaxes, and it reads as follows. The rule prohibits broadcast licensees or permittees from broadcasting false information concerning a crime or catastrophe.
Commercials.
Now, a lot of people had just cut this off after the concerning a crime part. In fact, people who are actually my friends in real life actually tweeted me this as if it was a good argument, even though you actually have to meet 3 specific criteria in order to warrant fines for this, let alone having your license pulled by the FCC. And those criteria are as follows. 1, the licensee knows the information is false. 2, it is foreseeable that the broadcast of the information will cause substantial public harm, and the broadcast, this is number 3, of the information does in fact directly cause substantial public harm. Now, it's very easy to make the case that Jimmy Kimmel did know that he was lying, or at least his writers knew that they were lying at the time that he made this statement. But the fact is, the idea that they could foresee that this would cause substantial public harm and then that public harm actually came to fruition is definitely 100% not what happened. Therefore, this isn't covered. Now, if you want to make vague allusions to what you think the definition of public harm is in the comments of this video, I just want to also remind you that public harm is specifically defined again in these FCC rules. Let us go to that definition. For the purposes of this rule, public harm must begin immediately and cause direct and actual damage to property or health or safety to the general public, or diversion of law enforcement or other public health and safety authorities from their duties. Now, this obviously did not happen, unless you're trying to make the case that directly after Jimmy Kimmel made these statements, a bunch of law enforcement resources were misdeployed, people started panicking, there was a healthcare or medical care panic in this particular country or a region of this country. But again, that is betrayed by reality. And the reason, by the way, that the rules are laid out this way is that these rules were specifically put into place based on a broadcast of War of the Worlds that happened way back in the day over radio that actually convinced people of the idea that there was an alien invasion, which caused a bunch of the people who tuned in late to that broadcast to panic and start doing things in response to said alien invasion. But the thing is, our First Amendment is so strong that even that particular incident that inspired these sets of rules would not have been punishable under the rules again that were laid out post that, because again, you have to knowingly lie. You can't provide a disclaimer that it's a fictional broadcast, which was actually provided during that reading of War of the Worlds over radio. But again, people are trying to take this, misappropriate portions of it in order to say that the FCC was justified in going after Jimmy Kimmel, which they were absolutely not. And again, the threat of government force is sufficient enough to be a First Amendment violation. In fact, this was happening all throughout the Biden years against organizations like the NRA, and they won a case 9-0 last year in 2024, directly addressing whether or not you could threaten government power in order to force somebody into compliance. And by the way, the reason this case is so crucial is because what New York was doing was warning financial institutions about reputational harm and telling them that they had to think about their association with the NRA much much in the same way that the FCC guy was alluding to the possible fines and whatnot that the local broadcasting affiliates could face for hosting content like Jimmy Kimmel, and much in the same way that Sinclair and, of course, Nexstar were the ones who actually pulled the plug on Kimmel first. These financial institutions, based on the implied threats from New York, ended up pulling association with the NRA. So again, this is a one-to-one case. So no, in no way, shape, or form.
Okay, now this is where I disagree with him. The punishment is the process. And two, they're going after your advertisers. They are going after low-level people's advertisers. This is what the point of what the Biden administration was doing. Is like you're taking these people to court, draining their finances. Now, granted, if they win, they supposedly get their finances back. But at the same time, the punishment is the process, these long, drawn-out court proceedings where you have to pay your lawyers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then you have to keep going back to court constantly, filing for appeals, filing for motions, and then, of course, your advertisers get attacked. Your sponsors get attacked. Like, how dare you be a part of this hateful bigots organization? And then, yeah, like just to avoid like the bad press, they pull away your sponsors. This is where I disagree with him. Now, I agree that all these things are probably going to lose in court. But the right is finally doing what the left has been doing to us all along. And if you fight with their methods to them, they're going to start reining back, is how I more feel about it now. Is because originally I was like, just turn the other cheek, but they just keep coming back. They just keep coming back for more. Like I said, the left is an insatiable beast that keeps coming back for more. And they don't stop. They're going to, as soon as they get back into power, they're going to come right back for more. And that's how I feel about this. That's his take. I will have his video linked in the description below if you want to check more of his video out. But I am subscribed to him. He is great. He usually does he talks about criminal justice stuff. I love his content. But yeah, definitely check out the actual Justice Warrior. But yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel about it. Is like we're going to have to get down and start slinging in the mud now, because they are not playing fair. The left has never played fair. They're not going to play fair for us any longer. So this is what we're forced to do now, unfortunately. So we're going to get more into the weeds on this. That's how I'll end the video, but we'll get to the memes now. But yeah, me saying love means tolerance, but bro saying love that tolerates evil isn't love. It's cowardice dressed as compassion. And that's where we're at in society now. Love is not tolerance. If you love that tolerates evil isn't love. It's cowardice dressed as compassion. That is a great line. Because if you allow evil to just continue to do what it's doing, you're not helping anybody. 100% true. That is a great line right there. Then we'll talk about this right here. We'll just brief this mention. Wow, Speaker calls out District 214 for quietly removing Charlie Kirk's notable alumni plaque years ago and demands that it be put back up.
Words that were said previously, that I'm shocked that Charlie Kirk's plaque would be removed from the wall of notable alumni. And it happened apparently in the middle of the night, as these things tend to happen, quietly without anybody noticing. It's frankly shameful. Charlie Kirk tried to build bridges between people, and he did it using his intellect and reason and a quiet voice, and he should be honored for that. Whether you choose to believe what he said or not, or whether you choose to cross that bridge and join him or stay on your side, that's not the point. The point was he tried to peacefully build bridges between people. And I don't think it's appropriate that his plaque be removed. I think it should be restored. I think he should be honored. He is going to receive the Medal of Freedom, which is the highest honor this country can bestow upon somebody. And frankly, I think an explanation would be owed if he wasn't restored to that wall of notable alumni. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
The word.
Then now we get to the memes. Auditioning for the Renaissance Fair. He says, no, the debate team. Yeah. Who would have guessed that going to debate on college campuses, you're going to start needing to wear body armor, have full security, like presidential level security details now, thanks to the left. Because the left can't debate. As we said, they can't debate, so they go to violence. They immediately go to violence every time. It's sickening stuff. Pray didn't help Charlie Kirk, did it? And it's the Democratic donkey flipping some dude off, and this dude's like, no, I was praying for you, for what's about to come. And this is scary because it seems we are hitting a point of no return because the left's go-to move now seems to be violence. And there's only been more threats happening on college campuses and other places against conservative speakers now. So the left has been emboldened by this. Right-wing violent rhetoric, and it just says, God is good. It's a guy holding up a sign that says, God is good. And then the blue-haired lady says, murder of my political opponents is good. And just like, yeah, we have the violent rhetoric. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. This is Chad with Owasso Live. This was The Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in loop. And really do actually give it a like and share the video with your friends and family because it does help us out. It gets us moving in the algorithm and gets more eyes on our channel. So if we're really looking to grow, share this video with your friends and family. Like it, comment below because the more engagement you get, the more traction YouTube gives your channel. So that's what we're really trying to do is grow this channel and, become like a beacon of free speech and, trying to spread the truth about what's going on in the world and about stuff like this. But I'm going to end this out with a video of a couple of like 3 kids going to re-put up candles and memorial photos and stuff at a Charlie Kirk memorial after a bunch of left-wingers came in and knocked it down and stomped on everything. So I just think that even though these awful people are around, there's still these great people that come out to do these great things because Charlie Kirk was such a great guy. So I'm just going to end this out with that video, but God bless you, everybody, and I'll see you next week.